Discipline keeps you moving one step at a time, has to do with wanting to achieve your goal. We are going to talk about discipline and how it keeps you moving forward. Today I'm going to go live with Mary Mah, who's originally from Cameroon and now lives in Canada.
It's an honor because I totally adore Mary. I
Me,
mean, just look at her smile.
me too, girl, and I really celebrate you for all the work you're doing.
Ah, thank you so much. Yeah, we're talking about how discipline keeps you moving. And when you say that you're celebrating me for all the work I'm doing, I guess that's what this is about. It's about taking one step at a time and moving forward because I'm taking one step at a time. And I'm not a person actually to call myself very disciplined. But every time I talk to other people, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm more disciplined than I'm actually giving myself credit for.
Definitely, girl. You can't say that because you've been consistent, and there's no way you will say that's not discipline. Because for me, discipline is putting yourself in a state of certainty that you will do it, and you are doing the work.
Yeah,
And
I'm doing the work. I talk
yes,
to people, I listen to people. I ask a lot of questions, and some people they think I'm very annoying because I do so, and others love it.
which is a good thing because it's always good to ask. People will not know what you want if you don't ask. And
I
it's
agree.
because, like me, it's difficult for me to ask, but we need to learn how to ask for help. Because there are people out there who are very willing and ready, but if they don't know that you need help, they cannot help you. So you have to ask, and you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I never thought about it in that way. That discipline actually, it's also the discipline to learn to speak out, to take those steps, to be heard, to be seen, to get the answers you need. That requires discipline too. To every time to get across that hurdle and say, okay, it might not be easy, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Absolutely. Because when you make a choice and you take responsibility for the things that you want to do, most of the time, like me, most of the time I start. I have the momentum to start, but I don't have the discipline to keep going.
Oh, well, you've got a good one in me because you're here, and I now know that you said that depending on certain circumstances, which have happened, you were going to do it, and they have happened, so there's no going around it anymore.
Because discipline is everything. To get us going, we need discipline. Is a lifestyle because discipline helps us to build good health, to develop good health, to build our business, to build useful habits, to build our dreams. We need disciplined action and we need consistency in that. And so discipline is not, it's a lifestyle. We really need it. It's a lifestyle. Not that you think that you are forced to do it, but you have practiced it and it has become normal for you to do the things that move you forward.
Yes. And talking about moving forward and discipline, so many people don't know this, but you've been traveling a lot in your life. And I mean, for a while, you actually lived in Spain and you weren't able to speak Spanish before you went to Spain, right? But you managed to to
In,
learn Spanish pretty quickly.
in Spain, you have to learn the language because that's the only thing they speak. Apart from the regional languages, everything is Spanish. So I went to a Spanish school. I went to a Spanish school because you can't even walk if you don't know Spanish. So I went to the Spanish school and I learned till I had the B2 grade, which is a step to the A. So I'm not as bad as so, and that could allow me to walk. But even when I was working, I still continued going for classes, not as intensive as the first 2 years, because I was in Spain for 6.5 years. So for the first 2 years, I did intensive Spanish, and it's much easier to learn it there because everybody around speaks it.
Yeah, and they hardly speak any English.
No.
So, and because they hardly speak any English, the amount of Spanish you will be speaking is probably equal or better compared to what they are speaking.
Well, you don't even have a choice, because if you want to get your way, you have to speak the language.
Yeah, that's true.
So you have to speak the language, and I love learning languages. For me, learning languages is because I did literature and languages, so I love reading and I love languages. So it's easy for me to learn a language. And also, since I was already speaking French, it was also much easier to learn Spanish, because it's not really very different from French. You have some details or some little differences, but when you speak French already, it's much easier for you to learn Spanish.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. So you're originally from Cameroon. Which languages did you learn there or speak there?
In Cameroon, we have more than 250 dialects, which means every village have their own language.
Okay, how many did you speak?
But I speak like maybe 10 or 12. But the official languages where they work with is English and French, because what we inherited from our colonial heritage. So there's part of Cameroon that speaks English and there's part that speaks French. But the whole country has two official languages. Every document is in French and English.
Okay, okay, and that made it a lot easier already for you to travel everywhere in the world. I mean, French, if you can speak French, you can at least read what's out there and somehow understand what people are saying. And English, of course, is all else, well, in most countries, that is. Um, so that is giving you a major advantage. So did you learn other languages in school besides French and English?
No, they don't teach other languages in school per se. Principally French and English, and then we learn other subjects. But you can have maybe songs in different languages. But officially, the official languages of communication, teaching, and everything is English and French.
Okay, so I'm from the Netherlands. So over here, our main language is Dutch, but because we are surrounded by German, if you go to the east, if you go to the south, it's we have Belgium, and Belgium directly across the border, we actually have the French-speaking Belgian people, and it's further away that they actually speak Flemish or Dutch. So that's kind of funny. Then if you go into the corner, then you get Luxembourg, and if correct, they also speak French over there and German. I'm not entirely sure, but I think I'm correct. And of course, if you go across the North Ocean, then we get English because there's the UK. So there are a lot of places. And so when I went to high school, English was standard until you were about to do your exam, and then you could choose if you still wanted to do English or not. So one person I knew took French. And talking to you, it makes sense. And but I actually learned French, German, and English, and then later on a little bit of Spanish, and that's what I'm learning right now again. So, oh, and see who we have here. Here is Chris, and Joe is here too. So,
So there's
and
big, absolutely, when you can learn a language, a new language, is always an added advantage. And you really, you need every learning, you need discipline to follow through, because especially when we grow older, it's not easy to just sit and start learning a new language.
no, that's so true.
But
Hey,
why?
Chris.
If you have a good why, then you can discipline yourself to follow through.
Well, that's true. And it's funny that I see both Joe and Chris on here because Chris yesterday told me he speaks Spanish,
Okay.
and Joe, who's from the UK, actually speaks French.
Oh, you see, so they,
Yeah, yeah. It's multilingual here. I'm not saying it good, but
no, but they're increasingly becoming a global village. We are people are traveling and mixing with others, and so it becomes really necessary to learn other languages. Even if English is predominant, but the more languages you know, the more openings or opportunities you have. It makes life easier for you the more languages you know.
well, what I've come to understand, and basically you said is sort of the same thing, is if you want to go places and you want to learn, take courses, or in your case, work somewhere else, you need to know multiple languages in order to get by.
Well, you don't need to know multiple languages in order to get by, because no matter what happens, you can always find a way. If you speak predominantly, if you speak English, you are likely going to find it a little more easier to places where they don't speak English. The people will make an effort to speak English. So it's not you don't stay in your house until when you learn a new language before you start traveling. No, it's even much easier to learn the language as long as along the way. So you
Yeah, I agree. But you know, the times that I went to Germany, and I don't know if I went to France too. Yeah, I went to Germany, Switzerland, and I may have been in, I don't know, it was Italy or France, I'm not sure, for a number of courses. So the one who was the trainer, he spoke English, but
okay.
then the places where I was staying at the hotel, they didn't, or they did a little bit. So it was always like, okay, you talk one language, I do the other one. So they would speak English to me, and then I would answer in their language, and that was a way to really pick up on it again. And the more I've been traveling, um, the happier I've become that I actually have been learning all those languages. I mean, just going to Disneyland in Paris. I mean, and of course, nowadays they speak English there as well. But I do remember the time that they primarily spoke French.
No, everywhere has changed now. It's not like before when people were just in their different countries. People really travel today. And
Yeah,
so that interaction, there's even no way you can just sit with your own, just with what you have. You
yeah, I do have to admit though that still places in Germany they still don't speak English. It's true. And there are still some places in French where they still don't speak English, and the same applies, by the way, to Spain, of course. But that's a whole different ball
well,
game.
we always have traditionalists in everywhere who want to maintain the status quo. But the good thing is more people are progressists, and they have open mindsets, and they are really curious enough to learn new things and to go to places.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree.
at first people used to think that in Africa we don't wear clothes. Until when Africans started traveling and going to Europe, and they say, "Oh my goodness, you guys have clothes." I said, "What? But what do you think? We have clothes, yes." So I think
Yeah.
that people should travel.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about what my father said about people in New Guinea and the Papua New Guinea people and where they kept their money. That's all I'm saying. You should know enough by now. Anyway, um, you're a coach, so when it comes to discipline, what would be the first thing you would advise to other coaches?
I would say to advise other coaches, they already know that you have to be committed and be disciplined to follow up on your commitments. But also, you also have to be disciplined because having an open mindset to learn new things needs a lot of discipline. And when you have an open mindset, it's easier for you to learn and grow. So because we all, like you say, we all need coaches. I just came off an online coaching call with my coach. We all need coaching because we all need somebody who is 10 miles ahead of us. But we also have to know that it is a necessity and we take action on it. Because it's a choice, it's a decision that you make by choice. Because you choose to grow. Coaching is growing. Coaching is helping people to grow. So when you make up a conscious choice to grow, you have to build the discipline to follow up. Building a discipline is just repeating the new good habits over and over until they become internalized and it becomes a way of life.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So back in the days, they said it takes 90 days to develop a habit. Other people say it takes 30 days. That's the new standard. But quite honestly, even after 90 days, you can skip a day, you can skip 2 days, and then it's suddenly over and done with. No more habits.
No, the good thing about that is when you have a good reason why, you will stay in focus. And when you have a reason why, it's not like you are being obliged to. And nobody is perfect. There will be times when life will happen and you go off your track. The only thing is come back as soon as possible.
I
Don't
agree. I
don't
agree.
remain on the off track. Remember your why, and that's what gives you your focus.
Yeah, remember the one thing you really want to do in the hard times when you're low on energy and just keep focusing on that little one thing moving you forward.
Exactly.
I totally agree with you. Um, as for the ones on the other side, the coachees, there is also, of course, discipline involved. And I've noticed that some out there are really eager and say, yeah, sure, please coach me and I'll do whatever it takes. Especially, of course, when there's a certain amount of money involved. People are like, okay, I'm paying money, so I want something in return. And then there are the people out there who say this, whether they are getting it for free or paying money, they say, I'm not going to do the work. So, what is your um, experience, or what would you say to those people? You would come to you and you would figure out that they don't want to do the work.
The thing is, they like a coach, you are doing first a service that is coming from your heart, and you want to help your client to grow. It's difficult. That's why you have to know their journey and meet them in their journey, because sometimes you prescribe one thing for them, which is not what they need at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that clarity from the beginning is very important. It should be
Yeah.
clear on what do they want, and then that makes,
Yeah, you go on.
yeah.
No, I interrupted you. Sorry. Just go on. So
No,
they
it's not,
need to know what they want.
that when the person knows why, or when you have a client and you help the client to clarify, because sometimes they don't even know what they want. But you
Yeah,
talk with,
and that's it. That's it. They sometimes don't know what they want. And so apparently nowadays we have two styles of coaches. So the ones who are listening and listening like, okay, so what are you willing to do? Asking like, what are you willing to do? And then move towards what they're willing to do. And then there are the ones you use a certain framework in order to get people moving forward. So which direction would you be headed? Do you like to apply a framework, or is it
I,
like, okay, depending on what I hear?
I think it's not like a hard and fast rule where you must use a framework here or the other one. It's you listen to the person, and then you see, because your job as a coach is to help the person transform to the next level. And so you need to figure out the journey for everybody. Everybody doesn't have they don't need to follow the same path. And that's why the framework is sometimes limiting, because it's like you're squeezing somebody inside the frame where the person does not fit. So
Yeah,
you some principles, there are principles of, first start with, like you start with auto evaluation, and then you identify what you need, and then you follow up on the actions. But also it's really important to listen to the person and to bring them to a frame, to a mindset where they understand and accept, or not accepting, where they understand the importance of what they are doing.
yeah,
So long as I think when you understand the importance of what you're doing, it's much easier for you to do it.
yeah. I agree with that. So my passion is teaching people or giving them a voice. So teaching them how to speak up, speak out, and share their voice. Basically, no longer keeping silent. And a lot of people, they don't dare to speak out. And we just talked about it, that it actually requires discipline to ask and okay, there's this obstacle, there's this hurdle, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to ask, and I might get a no, but I'm still going to do it anyway until I get that yes. Um, so when I learn people to speak up, it's about communication and understanding one another. Why is someone doing the things they are doing, or what can I do in order to get the other person responding in a different way? But just that one thing, understanding why someone is doing the things they are doing, can already, make a difference. And then you can, go around like, okay, so if you know that this person might be doing it for this, that, or the other reason, what does it do to you? And how can you cope knowing what you know now? And that might make a difference. So that's, I'm a little bit of everything because I'm a coach, I'm a therapist, I'm a trainer. But basically, what I do is I explain communication to other people, and I explain how they can communicate with more clarity so they can be understood. And, and a lot of people, they fall into, well, I don't want to say they fall into the category inclusion, but when I say inclusion, a lot of people know what I mean. So that makes it a little bit easier. And especially for those people who are not used to speaking out, or they you know, they have a little bit more trouble speaking out with as opposed to other people, or understanding, especially the understanding part that can be very hard for various people. I mean, just you as a woman, we as women, we understand one another far more easily compared to if we would be speaking to men. With the exception, of course, the gay men out there, they usually don't have that problem. Those are the ones, you know.
What I know is the approach that you're using is really recommended, because sometimes you really think you have a headache, you want to treat the headache, but you realize that it's because you didn't sleep well that you have the headache. So there's different things, different reasons why, and it's not sustainable when you want to treat just the symptoms. Sometimes it's good to find the roots.
Yes.
Most of the times it's good to find the roots if the treatment has to be sustainable, if the person has to really get well. So what you're doing is not like you're doing so many things. It's because most of the time people really, before, like, I don't know, maybe for you guys in Europe or in North America is different. In Africa, we go to the hospital only when you're really almost dying. In other words, you find a coach when you're already broke and broken. Meanwhile, some people find a coach because they have already achieved so much and they want to go further. That's different from someone who is starting from a broke and broken state. So it's really essential to have those different dimensions and that kind of, because if one part of the system is not functioning well, the whole system will not function.
Mm.
So if you're giving people a voice in that process, you also discover that they need maybe to learn some life skills, or they need to work on their self-improvement and stuff. Perfect. Because it sometimes is when you start speaking that you even realize, oh, I also have this challenge, I also have this other challenge, and all of that. So I think it's a good approach that you're using. And
Oh
that's why
yeah.
when you have people with corporate backgrounds, which means they have learned so many different things, they make better coaches.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
they understand.
And you're of course now coming up with a certain cultural background where differences are. I was making the comparisons between men and women. Yes, there's also the difference when it comes to whether you have corporate background or not. Also depending on the way you actually absorb the information. And that's why I actually mentioned um, the various way people listen. So men hear things different compared to women. If you are suffering from some form of autism, well, suffering is not the right word, because some can really function really well with autism. Um, but for people with autism, they usually take things literally. So when you say it's one or two, then they don't think there's a zero or a three or a two and a half. It's either one or two. And then when other people are thinking like, but yeah, but why didn't you say so? Well, you said one or two, you know, and by understanding where a person is coming from, whether it's a certain cultural background or whether it's the way they, well, let's put it this way. If you understand why they perceive things the way they do, then you can actually start to improve the communication, because you can work with the way they actually perceive things, but you can also explain like, yeah, but not everybody listens the way you do.
No, it, which is really is pertinent. What you're saying is very, very pertinent. And I'll tell you, it's not, I'm not trying to downplay therapy, but therapy, why in Africa is not very popular? Because the way it was practiced, I don't know if the practice has changed. You just go and stay in the therapist's office, and then they listen to you. You recount your troubles and what is worrying you, and you go. And then the next session, you come again. That doesn't help the person. Because what the person needs when they come to someone is to have the tools to go out of that broken state.
Yes.
And so instead of going to someone just to go listen, and then, because when the thing is, when you're talking to a therapist, the more you recount your trauma, the more traumatized you are. And then you go out from there, you don't have a concrete roadmap, to no action steps, no concrete action steps to take to move you from that.
Yeah, nowadays that has changed. A lot of therapists do have certain tools, and they are specialized in something specific. And so, for instance, when we're talking about trauma and PTSD, I believe that it's very important to also see a therapist who's specialized, for instance, in PTSD or EMDR or anything that helps um, deal with the trauma, but also give you a tool like the moment that you experience trauma, or you're having a panic attack, or you're having a nightmare, and you're constantly going in and you're looping, that they give you a means to get out of it. But the balance between coaching and therapy can be a thin line. Then again, a therapist actually has to go to school, so is certified. A coach or a counselor is also certified, but they're very different guidelines to one and the other one.
And
So, but
I put back my statement in perspective. At first, before now, before this new way of practicing, it was just going to sit there and listen.
yeah,
But
that's
it was not helping, and that people need tools to really come out from it. And so the practice has changed.
yeah, I agree. And of course, it all depends on how you've been taught certain things. And that's a part of me loves the frameworks that's been applied nowadays when it comes to coaching. I also love the tools and the various things you can apply. One thing I noticed when with my background as therapist is when you would learn new things, it was like you would get acquainted half a day or a day with a new tool. And then as a result, I would understand what the tool would do, but that didn't mean that I could apply the tool just because I heard about it and I knew about it. Then comes, of course, practicing in the whole thing. And then if you really want to be able to use that tool, then you need to take classes, courses on it. It's not done, like, okay. And sometimes that's, the good thing is there are specializations, but the not so good thing are like, okay, but then what if you want to grow beyond?
No, definitely, it's good to specialize, because you cannot be a jack of all trades. It's good to specialize, and it's also good that people are becoming, or professionals are becoming, more practical, and even coaches too, because everything changes with having the practical tools to grow, or to improve, or to change your state, or to become better. So if you going to if you even have a coach who does not help you to grow, you're wasting your time and your money.
Yeah, and that's the discipline we're talking about. That's the discipline to keep learning new things. Listen to the clients, use their experiences, go to your colleagues or to other people who can tell you, and ask them about it. Like, hey, I've encountered this. What did you do? You know, how did you deal? Or could you recommend something that I could learn to apply? You know, and that's what makes the whole, whether we call it coaching or being a service or whatever it is, um, supporting the other person, so useful when you are capable of reaching out to others and then, okay, hey, hang on, this is something, yeah, I understand this. Let's apply this. And then, oh, this is interesting. And then until you have so many tools that you can actually just pick a tool which is the best one working for the other person.
And that's very true. And that's the power of collaboration. When you collaborate with colleagues, with people in your community, and that's also the power of a community where you have a pool of people who are progressists with whom you can work and learn or share solutions, and see how you can adapt and adapt and readjust them to specific
Yes.
cases. So collaboration is really important. But at the end
Yeah,
of
I
the day,
agree.
you know what you want for your clients, and you are there to find the best you can give them to also help them to grow. Because, like we were talking, money is good, but also you have better satisfaction when you know that you help the person to grow and to become a better person. So the
Yeah.
focus only be on the money, but also on the person's real transformation and growth.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think you know this, but the people who might be watching might not know this. Um, I started out, like 2 decades in the IT, and then I became a trainer. I talked to customers, I talked to suppliers, and at one point I became a fitness trainer, medical fitness trainer, and and then I switched to becoming a therapist, which was, by the way, on a spiritual, energetic level. And then I also became a coach and a counselor. And one of the things pretty early on I realized was I am so intrigued by mindsets. And the thing, and that's kind of funny, which I learned when it came to spirituality, was actually not so much anything spiritual. It was about the mindsets. Like, how can you control the mind? The thing about when we're talking about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, that's one thing that they talk about in spirituality for ages, literally. And and when you look at hypnotherapy, um, that's that's one of those things which actually talk to the part that normally is hidden under the sea level. And that's and doing that, I and talking to people about, okay, so what's going on in your life and who are you, and what is it you want to achieve. I moved and switched sort of to the people who needed a change in their life, who weren't happy anymore, who were looking for something new. And at some point I was like, from very young to very old, and some people were dealing with, okay, my wife is suffering from dementia. What do I do? Other people were like, I want to have a family, but I also want to have a career. What do I do? And it's basically the listening. But nowadays, I somehow got moved in this direction of people who are not that easily understood by other people. So, and that's why I said, when it comes to inclusion, think about people with ADHD or with PTSD or with um, autism, people who have experienced trauma. That's a whole different ball game. And at some point, it's no longer like, are they moving forward? It's like, are they managing to stay alive? And
No,
that's,
I would take from the point of view of people are they don't know what to do because they think that they have to be validated by their society, or that if we are going about the career, they don't know if they should focus on their career or on their family life. And it brings so much stress and overwhelm over people, that is because there's no way you can balance your family and career. You can harmonize it. You find a way of functioning. It's not easy to balance it. It's not like mathematics where you put one and you have two. Because one side is family and life, the other side is professional career and profession, where you need to give results before you get the pay. And so, but if you find a way of harmonizing, there was one of these ladies who was, I've forgotten her name. She was the CEO of PepsiCo, and she was sharing her experience. She had to find a way of following up with her children, even when she was working, because she would put the homework and then you put all the tasks that they had to do when they came back from school. While in her office, she would have a video call with them to help them along and be present. At least she was not there, but she was present with them online. And even if she came back when they were sleeping, at least they had seen her in a video.
yes, and
So
that's
you
so good. And
harmonize them.
I love that. I love that. I didn't know. What I have noticed is, especially when it comes to men and business owners, is they, especially when they've seen it, from generation to generation, they have learned, like, okay, we are the guys, we are the one who bringing money home. So we are the ones who keep on working, and the wife is the one who takes care of the children. And at
Well,
some point, they realize they are no longer the dad, because mom is taking care of everything. So they go to mom for everything. They don't listen to dad because mom decides. And that's actually pretty hurtful, because they had this immensely good intention to keep their family safe, to provide for the family. And what do they end up with? Children who don't know who they are, because, oh, that's the guy who comes home on Sunday and who's cutting the meat. That was an advertisement over here from the government. Uh, like saying, who's that stranger? Oh, yeah, that's your dad. Yeah, and on Sunday he cuts, the beef. and 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 but it's, let's face it, it's still happening, and they don't get to bond with their kids as a result, and they don't know about one-on-one time. And that's, on one hand, I applaud something called Dad's Day. That's what we have nowadays here. So if you say, as a man, one day at home to take care of your family, then that's called Dad's Day. It's not like all other days are mom's days. No. It's
I
Dad's
think
Day.
of understanding and arrangement and organizing, because it's not like it's really funny to say one day out of 7 days is that day and that's a big achievement. That's not a big achievement.
Yeah.
And the moms can be there if they organize, because that's for couples. I'm talking about couples. When we talk mom and dad now, we're talking about couples. For it to work, you just need a little organization and understanding and a little sacrifice to make it work well. So it's not like somebody has to overdo it. If we really just understood that one person does not have to overdo it 6 days and one person 1 day, everybody will do 7 days and little things in 7 days, and the children will still know that the parents are there. So it's a matter of organization, understanding, and sharing the work. But I think most of the men who because today there's nothing like the man is the breadwinner alone. There have been economic crises. People have lost jobs. There have been a lot of changes and challenges over the years. Most families is the women who are even the breadwinners now. Even if the men, they say when the woman is the breadwinner, she becomes like the lion in the house. It's just a matter of understanding that it doesn't matter, because once you are a couple, it means you become one, if I understand. So it means whether it's the woman who brings the money or the man, just understand each other. And but it's not as well as saying it is easier. Doing it is difficult. Nobody should feel threatened, and nobody should be challenged. It's not because the thing is, most women who have more money than their husbands, they don't even challenge the husbands. It's the husband who just feel that fear or guilt, or they just think that that's the way she will be thinking. Meanwhile, that's not even, she doesn't even think about what you think about her. And so all those, I don't know how to call them, those shocks, those shocking ideas, shocking realities bring a lot of problems in homes.
Yeah, there's of course this stigma that if men don't work, or they're not the cost winner, they're not the one who are bringing home the money, that they're not, that they're not worth anything. And I guess it's the opposite. It's so totally not true. But a lot of men who actually are staying at home dads, some of them, if it's not voluntarily, they actually have like a real identity crisis on their hands, because they don't know what to do. And others, by the way, they love it. I mean, they're like, hey, I can do whatever I want. Yes.
And that they're talking about this mindset. When you have an open mindset, you are open to see reality and to readjust. When you have an open mindset, you don't stay fixed, because there are sometimes that one person can be challenged or the other. Have an open mindset to say, okay, I will bounce back. But meantime, the other person, I accept and I acknowledge her contribution or his contribution, and I will help her to make things work. Yeah. It's everything. The mindset, you talked about mindset. Mindset is capital. When you see people with open mindsets, it's much easier to deal with them, and they make more harmonized homes. It's just mindset. And of course, don't even think about what people will say or what people will think. It's you and your wife and your children. Because at the end of the day, life is about you.
Yep, that's so true. That's so true. So, Clara agrees with you. That's good. Yeah, and
Clarissa, hello.
Oh, Mary has a lot of knowledge and wisdom in her. So, yeah, I totally agree. So the thing is, of course, that, and what I've noticed, especially when both men and women are working together, it's like you said, you need to be a unit. You need to talk with one another, understand one another. One is good at one thing, the other is good at the other thing. But be a team, and not like one is saying one thing, the other is saying the other thing. I mean, that's not going to work, because kids, they are so smart and they know who to go to in order to achieve certain things.
And it's a competition to see who we know or who is the best. It's a collaboration in a partnership to make it work for everyone without anybody sacrificing more than the other one.
Yeah, and for me, this all comes down to communication. understanding why people do certain things, how teenagers, for instance, cannot be held responsible for the same things as adults can, because they're still learning, and especially when we're talking about the adolescent age. I mean, the role of the parents is that the kids can try everything on the parents, so they learn which boundaries they need to respect when looking at the world and dealing with the world. But the parents have to set those boundaries
And
for
the
them.
discipline comes in because you have to discipline. Discipline doesn't mean you beat the children.
No.
Just explain to them how the real life works, and you prepare them because eventually they will go into the real world.
Yes.
So you have to prepare them, and that comes with some discipline.
Yeah, money doesn't come from a wall, for one. And it's not like you snap your fingers and there's food in the closet. Doesn't work that way. And
Now
there's not always.
that we have to redefine what we think about money. We have to redefine our relationship with money. We shouldn't take the children to see money like some taboo thing. Money is a good thing, but if they want something, you can buy them things that are necessary. And you always explain to them why you are not going to buy this particular toy today or now, or why you don't need to buy a phone for a 9-year-old. Explain to them and tell them that when you're much older, when you get to 12 years, I will buy a phone for you. You just explain to them, and explain to them too that it's not because all their friends at school have a phone that they must necessarily have a phone. Because if you have a child who is easily distracted and you let them with a phone, at the end of the day, the child will not focus on school, and you are the one who will have the headache much later. So you have to discipline your children, disciplining them in a loving way, and just giving them life skills for the practical world, because they are not going to remain with you forever.
No, that's so true. And the funny thing is, we're talking about discipline, but actually, it requires from the parents also a lot of discipline. To be in line with the other one, the other half of the marriage or the living arrangement, whatever it is. But also to be consistent when it comes to what you're saying to your child. Or say you don't even have children. Maybe you only have, maybe you have a pet. Maybe you have a dog. I mean, like cats, for instance, they're really smart, and they know, oh, when the owner comes home, then mommy or daddy comes home, then I'm going to get my food. So that's when they say meow, and of course they want to be hugged, and then the next thing is they lead you straight to
I'm not very.
the feeding tray. But it's with dogs, especially there are a lot of dogs you can really train really well, and depending on what you teach them, they can do so many things. I mean, there are so many service dogs out there who are very well trained. But if you let go, or someone other comes into the household, you treat the pet differently, then that can come at the expense of what they are actually doing and what they're used to. So discipline can come in very many forms and ways, not just when it comes to the career, but like you said, also, especially maybe even to family, and learning to listen to one another and answer in a way that is respectful for both sides.
Absolutely. Like we said, discipline is a way of life. It's not for only for children, or for it's even the way you, because the way you talk to your spouse or your partner determines the way they will respond, and it determines the outcome that you will get.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I
it,
totally agree.
so
And that's
it's
what, I wanted to say, and that's why it's so important that they actually understand what the other one is trying to get across. When you don't understand why someone is reacting differently, like that example I gave about the ones and the twos. You know, if that person literally thinks along the way that you've explained it and is not capable of thinking outside the box because of the way the brain works, then as a person who doesn't think like that, you need to know, like, hey, I'm talking to a person now who literally takes everything literal that I'm saying, and that requires a total different form of communication. And of course, this is one example, but it also applies to the children. I mean, you can say children are responsible as young as they are, and to a degree that's true. But we also know that it takes up till 25 years old before their brain is fully developed. And I usually say, look at the way you have been driving when you were in your 20s. And now look at how you're driving now you're in your 40s or older. It's so completely different. I mean, the responsibility has increased, and the things you found normal and daring and exciting when you were in your early 20s going on the road, yeah, those things have completely changed.
And that's why that's why it is said that self-discipline is start with you building yourself, and it is continuous. Because when you build it, the more you build your discipline, the more you see and the broader your perspective about life. And so when you have a broad perspective, it's easy to accommodate the other person and to meet them from where they are coming. Because it's not because you are married that you necessarily really know your partner. It's every day. It's every day you learn more and more together, and you grow together. But it's a choice that you have to make, and it's a skill that you have to learn and practice and make it a normal lifestyle.
I love it. I love it. So if we were to wrap this up, or if we are going to wrap this up, I would say I started with discipline. It's about moving forward one step at a time. We actually concluded that discipline is so necessary in all aspects of life in order to move forward, to understand one another. And when you can understand the other one better and speak one another's language, that's when you can move ahead and take the next step. But it's all about being willing to be open to communication, to learn, to adopt new mindsets, to broaden your horizon. And it is actually funny because when I think about discipline, I think about being rigid. But this has nothing to do with being rigid. It has to do with the exact opposite. This has to do with being open and willing to learn. So I think that's a very cool perspective, that discipline is anything but being rigid, but it's exactly the opposite in order to be able to take that next step.
Exactly. And you discipline yourself to always grow, to always progress, and you keep working. Just continue progressing and growing and becoming each time better than the last time.
Yes, absolutely. And it could be on all levels. And again, it could be when we're talking about relationships, it could be in your career, it could be in your business, it could be with your children, it could be with your pets, it could be with anyone, it could even be with the neighbor next door.
For a better world, we need to be disciplined, and which will open up the world for us, and it will make us better people, because we will, from where they are, from where they are coming, and we can always harmonize, collaborate, and grow together.
I love that. I love that. So I think we've been going on for well over an hour. So, yay! Our first live session together, and it's already over an hour. I totally applaud you. So thank you for being here with me and for sharing your perspective on discipline. And I really hope that the next time people read the word discipline, they think about, hey, this is about being open-minded. I mean, wouldn't that be so cool that if we could say to people, okay, if there's one thing you need to focus on and to train in, it would be to be open-minded and to see the perspective of things, of what people say, of what's happening and what's going on around you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really thank you for the patience and for making this happen. I hope that this is just the first of many, many, many other.
Oh, this is the first of many more. Oh, you're not getting off the hook so easily. Because for those who do not know, I always say I love Mary's smile. Just for your smile alone, I would go live with you. And
That's
of course,
and
like Clara said, you've got so much wisdom in you. Exactly. You have an amazing smile. So, and everyone who knows you adores you. So, how could I not go and want to go live with you?
that's the same thing for you. You know that you also have that beautiful, commanding smile that keeps you walking and brings people to collaborate with you, and you always focus on growing, which is really important. And that's what I celebrate about you every day. And I thank you for being in the same space with me and for sharing the journey with me.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, and I say this every day. You know, I remember when growing up that we could hear the beep 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 when listening to the phone, and there was no such thing as satellite phone, or at least it was not available to us. And here we are, and we are looking at one another, and we are talking to one another in real time. I mean, the fact that we actually had an expression as in real time online and not in real time, that basically says it all. But here you are, and I'm on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, and here we are talking about the meaningful
Like
things in life.
your sleep time.
No, it's not sleep time for me yet. No, it's before midnight, so that's good. But yes, I understand what you're saying, and I'm going to wish you a very nice evening and a great weekend, and we'll talk soon again.
I wish you same a good night's rest, a beautiful weekend. Take good care and continue working because you are
Yes.
inspiring me and you are inspiring a lot of people out there.
Well, I've been walking today, so for those people who are watching, if there's something you are thinking about, you want to share, of course, always respectful, leave a comment. And if you want to know more about the way we work with people, just hit us up and ask about it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I hope Mary knows how to join me. I haven't seen that she's live yet, so and she's pretty new to this game, so I'm waiting.
So finally, we did it.
I'm so glad because Mary and I have been trying to go live for I don't know how many times now, and we just didn't succeed until today. So, yay! So,
Finally.
finally, yeah. See you soon.
See you soon.